Hi, so I just wanted to share with you something that I read in Matthew 10 this morning, and I thought, wow, yeah, that's a bit like Mark 4, and I'll explain what I mean. So, in Matthew, do you think I'd have my Bible ready to read? Apologies. In Matthew 10, here we go. In Matthew 10, verse 27, it says, "Whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. And what you hear in the ear, preach on the top of houses." The first thing I thought was, why is Jesus speaking in the dark? And why would he be speaking to me in the dark? And then I thought, wow, that'd be quite embarrassing, shouting off from the top of a house. But of course, it's not literal. He's not really expecting us to shout and proclaim what we hear from the top of houses. But what it does mean is that he speaks, because it says that whatever I tell you in the dark, it means that he speaks. And that there is a dark place where we can hear God's voice. Well, where is that dark place? And that is where Mark 4 comes in, because in Mark 4, it's the parable of the sower. And the parable of the sower talks about how Jesus' words, whatever I tell you in Matthew 10, it's like a seed that goes out. And the ground is the heart. And it says there are 4 different types of ground. I won't go into the detail of that, except to say that the ground is the dark place. That is where Jesus speaks. So his word goes forth into your heart. If you don't hear what was in your ear, if you don't hear what Jesus speaks into your heart, you'll have nothing for the light of day. You'll have nothing to shout from the rooftops. The hearing comes before the proclaiming, and the inner comes before the outer. So, I was thinking about in 1 Kings 19 how Elijah was having a bad day, to say the least. And I think we'll leave it at that. I won't go into an aside with much detail about that, to say that the Lord had come to kind of set him back on route, to get him back on the path, because he was doing fantastically well. The Lord found him in a cave on a mountain, and he passed before Elijah with kind of incredible power as a mighty wind, as a fire, I think it was, an earthquake. But then there was a still small voice, which Elijah responded to. It says he came out of the cave in recognition that the Lord wasn't in the mighty, spectacular sound and quaking of the ground and literally the breaking of rocks through that terrible wind, but he was in that still small voice. And when Elijah came out of the cave, he asked him, what are you doing here, Elijah? Like, you knew my voice. You understood what the game plan was. But he lost. He got off track. He lost his position in Christ. He had been taking hold of that for which Christ took hold of him. But he wondered. He wandered off and wondered whether he was even on the right playing field. Too many metaphors. The long and short of what I'm trying to say to you is that Elijah neglected the still small voice. He wanted the spectacular. His ministry had been about the spectacular. Fire coming down from heaven and consuming altars, and dramatic demonstrations of the power of God. But the reality of his walk and his ministry was in the still small voice, and that's what the Lord wanted to bring him back to. And that's what I'm asking you, because I feel the Spirit leading me to do so, is to say, what was it that Jesus spoke to you in the dark? What did he whisper in your ear? Because if you are able to proclaim something with such boldness from the very top of a house, I'd say that you were excited about that thing. I'd say that you were passionate about that thing. I'd say that you were, you didn't care what people thought about you because you were just so going for this thing. And what was that thing? What was the whatever I tell you in the dark? What was it for you? I think it would be fingerprinted for every single individual. I believe that, well, one, if you're a Christian, that he's the shepherd, you're the sheep, you know his voice. And you need to go back to the dark. You need to go back to making space in your heart to let that word work its way out from the inside to the outside, from the darkness to the light. You need to begin to understand that there are words that we should be manifesting and speaking forth based upon the vision that God has put in our hearts, upon the calling that he has given to us. And that calling should make us so delighted and excited that we should be on fire for that, so that we want to proclaim it from the rooftops. So, one, what was the thing that God whispered to you? Two, do you find yourself set aside with things that cramp that voice, that dampen that voice? In the parable of the sower in Mark 4, it talks about the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth, and how just, the day and work and kids and essays or whatever it is that you are being efficient with. It's like if you know the story of Martha and Mary, how Martha complained that Mary wasn't helping. She wasn't in the kitchen. Hey, Jesus, what's going on? She was busy, when the truth was, Jesus said, there is one thing that is needed. And that is what Mary was doing, which is she was at the feet of Jesus. She was making space in her heart to receive the word. And it's from there that we get busy. We work inside out, not outside in. So find a space. Make space in your heart. Quieten down like Jesus. Would withdraw to lonely places at night. Speaking to you in a dark place. At night would withdraw to, disappear up mountains, to get away from the noise and the dust and the heat of the day, to just be with Father and to reset and to make sure. You need to make sure that you are set for the day. And I would suggest to you that if you are not on fire, that you are not excited about what it is that you are doing with your life, then if you don't have the attitude that you want to proclaim it from the rooftops, I think that God has wired into us a design that goes with something that he puts in our heart, that when we find it, when we take hold of that, we want to shout it from the rooftops. So one, you need to know what Jesus has whispered to you. Make space for that. Two, recognise if your life is a tedium and that you're not excited about your faith, you're not excited about your walk, then, yeah, whatever I tell you is what Jesus says. I would suggest that whatever he tells you is probably more exciting than you're doing at the moment, if you're not following that already. Bless you.